Hello. Um, I am doing the first video of a video series I intend to do. I don't know how active I will be. I don't know how successful I will be. I do know what it is I want to do. So, getting to the point. I have attempted to study languages off and on for several years, most of my life really. I've never obtained fluency or proficiency in any of them. I can kind of read Russian, and if I watch a video with it, I can pick out some words here and there, but without subtitles, I don't know what's going on. Um, I've decided I'm gonna do something different, and here's the plan. And I'm gonna start tonight. It's like 10 till 9 p.m. where I am, or 10 till 2100, depending on where you are. Point being, I'm picking a language. I'm going to post video with the intent of once per day where I record a lesson. I don't know how to put like a visual of what it is I'm studying, like there on the screen while I am over here. As if you can't tell from what I was just doing with my hands, I don't know what I'm doing or how to do it when it comes to video editing, so please bear that in mind. So, languages I have attempted to study in the past: Italian, Spanish, German, Russian, Japanese. Russian's the one I've had the most success with, but that's because I've been studying it off and on for 9 years at this point. And I don't know how successful I could be. Like, I can have a little bit of a conversation with somebody and I can find the bathroom and I know what not to eat. Spanish is more just because, in the words of Language Jones, Spanish is what you hear as an American when you go outside. And honestly, if I try to tell someone I don't speak Spanish, I just feel racist, even though that's not the intent. And it really is just like, I don't speak Spanish, I'm sorry. I had a little more success with Italian, but the only reason I studied that is because I'm a huge fan of Assassin's Creed. If you know, you know. Studied German because I was stationed in Germany for 2 years. I can order food. I know how to say hello. Thing. Trying to remember how to say goodbye. Well, that just proves my point. That was 8 years ago when I was stationed in Germany. So please bear that in mind. It's been that long, and I can order food. I can get around a city. Like, I know what Einbahnstraße means, and I know how to find the train station. And I'm not worried about getting lost in a deep dark alley if I were to go back to Berlin or something. Japanese was just kind of something I just got a sudden fancy with. So admittedly, I find Japanese and Korean girls attractive. By girls, I mean women. Okay, I'm 35. I'm not attracted to women under the age of about 25. And even then, I just feel kind of weird. I haven't dated anyone under the age of like 33 in several years. Since before I was 30. So, bear that in mind. So, yeah, that was kind of it, but I also find Japanese culture very fascinating. I love kimonos. I feel like there's a massive blind spot in my historical brain. I got a bachelor's in history, and I almost have my master's degree in North American history, and I have a very Eurocentric historical background. So I feel like with East Asia, Asia in general, Africa, Latin America, I'm taking a Latin American class right now for my master's degree. I feel like I have huge blind spots there because I just don't know much. So that's what really turned me on to Japanese. And yeah, I do find Japanese women attractive. I also find Korean women attractive, which is what kind of drew me to those languages in the first place. Kind of, not entirely, but kind of. So all that is to say, I've decided I'm going to try to study a new language. I'm going to do a video upload where I'm literally doing my studying on my computer. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, and it'll just be in a video series learning Korean. Why Korean? Because I do not know a single word in that language. I know the names of a few of the cities, both sides of the border, both sides of the 38th parallel. I love Squid Game, and recently they have had a pop culture boom, if you will. And I'm not a fan of K-pop, but at the same time, I do kind of like the culture. I've always found North Korea fascinating, but that's because no one knows anything about it, and when you don't know something is when you want to know. Or when you feel like you're not allowed to know something is when you want to know. So, yeah, I want to say the sentence structure is subject, object, verb. I want to say that's the grammatical structure of Korean. I could be wrong. I'm sure one of the lessons I'm going to learn is going to be based solely off of the premise of sentence structure. So bear that in mind. And in case you're trying to figure out where I am, my VPN is on. But if you can tell by my accent, I am definitely American. So, I'm going to literally start from scratch, knowing absolutely nothing about a new language, and I'm going to use this video and the succeeding videos to keep me in check. Do I expect to receive a massive following? Hell no. It's not the point. The point is to learn a new language, and I want to start from ground zero. I have a website pulled up. I hope you can still see me. It's called How to Study Korean. It's literally that's actually the name of the website, howtostudykorean.com. If I want to, I can check out the mobile app, which I'll probably download on my phone because it's got just about everything I could possibly hope for. There's Hanja, which I think is their, I think that's the name of their alphabet, if you want to call it that. Alright, purpose of this website is to provide Korean learners with a one-stop resource for learning Korean. We strive to provide the most detailed, accurate, and clear explanations at every step of the way, from learning how to read all the way to advanced grammar. Our lessons will always be free and are chock full of content. You won't believe how much is in there. As a base, each lesson includes, 1, 20 to 30 vocabulary words. Reasonable. 2, grammar tailored to the specific levels of study, applying the vocabulary from that lesson. 3, audio recordings of every Korean word and sentence. Our lessons are separated into units, each with 25 lessons, 3 quizzes, and a unit test. We currently have the following units. There are 8 units, starting with Unit 0 all the way up to Unit 7. I have no intention of trying to get to Unit 7 anytime soon. My goal, I should probably say this now. My goal is to be able to have a conversation with someone in South Korea not have to open up a dictionary, and I don't want it to just be, where is a Korean barbecue place? Which should show you how little I know about the culture because I am aware of Korean barbecue, which is really good, by the way. I was never stationed in Korea, so I don't have that background. But yeah, I like philosophy, I like history, I love sports. I'm a huge baseball fan. So I want to be able to have a conversation on any one of those topics. And if I were to, say, read a book about any one of those topics in Korean, I want to be able to understand what's being said. Obviously, the easiest of those would be baseball. If for no other reason, because I understand the concepts, I know what a curveball looks like, I know the game, I know what the strike zone is, I know the intricacies of swinging the bat. I know I'm being very, very basic with what I'm saying right now, but I also understand what the third base coach's job is. I know at what point the ball goes from being in the field of play to the out of field of play and what that means in practice, not just what the rules are. So if I were to have that level of conversation or read that level of a book in baseball, and I don't need to open up anything, any other resources to have that conversation, to read that book, to watch it on Korean TV or whatever. I don't even know how to do that. But I'd be able to do that. That is the goal. And as I mentioned, I like philosophy. Sometimes some of it is hard to understand in English. Like, I have no intention of reading Immanuel Kant in Korean. But I also recognize that the Enlightenment thinkers of Europe are not the only philosophers in history. I know Confucius was Chinese, but Confucius is a very famous philosopher as well. And whether you agree or disagree with some of his takes, just like all the Enlightenment philosophers, they had their problems too. A lot. I want to be able to have, or I want to be able to, or that's like the ultimate goal. Call that like level 3, is I can have level 1, or first goal is to be able to read something about baseball, converse about baseball in Korean, and fully understand it. And it's something I know based on my knowledge of Major League Baseball. That's a very popular sport there. Actually, yeah. Level 2 would be a history lesson, being able to read a history book, being able to have a conversation about Korean history in Korean. That is level 2. And no, I'm not going to use the cop-out of baseball history. I want to know about like actual Korean histories, like Proto-Three Kingdoms Korea, which I recently found out about, and frankly, I'm probably saying it wrong. I want to be able to understand that from that perspective, because there's going to be nuances there that just being an English speaker, I'm not going to have. I want to be able to write a research paper at the master's level about Korean history where I'm actually working with the primary sources. Yeah, it'd be digital, but at the same time, it'd be in the native tongue, not whatever bastardization English has. And then level 3 would be to have that level of philosophical understanding in, if I were to read a Korean philosopher, actually be able to understand that. I mean, something like, it doesn't necessarily have to be Confucius, but say it doesn't even have to be factual. I'm currently reading the book Dune before I go to bed. I want like that level of philosophy because it is very philosophy heavy. So those are my 3 goals. And yes, I'm making those up on the spot. Those are my 3 goals for learning Korean. So now that I've gotten all that out of the way, go back to the website. Unit 0, learning how to read. That is what it says. Go open that in a separate link. And in addition, all the different things that they have, I'm doing a right click, opening up the tab. So, starting with learn how to read Hangul. I want to say that's how you're saying that right. I want to say I'm saying that right. I don't know that. And no, I'm not ordering something off of Amazon. Okay. I right-clicked one of was the website. Hi, welcome to Unit 0 of HowToStudyKorean.com. 3 lessons in Unit 0 will give you everything. The word everything is in italics. You need to be able to read Korean. Having taught all of this to myself, I understand the challenges that an English speaker can have when learning how to read. So, as in every lesson, I will explain in a way in which that allowed me to understand it when I was teaching it to myself. Study hard, make sure you understand everything in these lessons before you move on. In Unit 1, you will meet my elder brother. He's a mean boy. And he will begin to teach you Korean grammar and vocabulary. Lesson 1, this will be your very first step in learning how to speak Korean. In this lesson, we will show you the most basic and common letters in the Korean alphabet. We will teach you not only how to read these letters, but also how to arrange them to make syllables on your own. Make sure you study hard because this lesson will be the first building block of everything you learn in the future. Woo! All right, computer paper, writing on the back of it. You don't need to know what's on the other side. So, since I'm learning how to read it, obviously I'm going to need to know how to write it. Learning how to read common vowels and consonants. This is lesson 1. Click here for workbook to go along with this lesson. Click here for a free PDF of all the lessons in Unit 0. Yes, I want that. I'm not going to do that right now, but I will go through this. All right. This lesson is also available in all these other languages. The following videos are available to reinforce concepts taught in this lesson. Syllable practice 1, 2, dictation 1, 2, 3, reading practice. For now, don't even think about words or grammar or anything until you read and pronounce Korean letters and syllables. Without being able to read Korean, it's very difficult to continue studying other parts of the language. Fair? Okay, there's a link for that. Okay. In Unit 0, I'll provide Romanized equivalents to the Korean alphabet. However, I highly suggest that once you know how to read the Korean alphabet, you should completely abandon the Romanizations. For example, in the future, instead of reading like this, there are letters there. Hakkyo equals school. You should study like this. Those letters equals school. Fair enough. At any rate, study these characters like crazy. Memorizing them at first is hard, but it needs to be done. Luckily, Korean has a fairly simple alphabet, although it looks strange to most English speakers at first because it is completely different than English. Note that the letters I teach you in these lessons in Unit 0 are not in alphabetical order. Rather, I am presenting the most simple letters first and presenting the most common or complex letters later, unless you plan on attending kindergarten in Korean in the next few weeks. There is no immediate need to learn the alphabetical order. I know every letter in Cyrillic. I cannot tell you the order. I've lived in Korea for years, and the only time it actually comes in handy is when I input my students' scores into the system on my computer at work, as knowing the alphabetical order helps me to find their names quicker. That makes sense. It's definitely good to know, but for now, you have way more important things to worry about. Nonetheless, here is the actual alphabetical order, which is separated into consonants and vowels. So at the top, it looks like backward gamma, double backward gamma, L, C, double C, worm, square, upside down A, double upside down A, kind of cross between an upside down Y and an upside down lambda? Alright, I'm not going to say all these out loud. I talk about the names of these letters in this lesson. The following are the first set of Korean consonants that you need to get into your brain. There's no easy way to explain them, you just need to memorize them. I'm just going to write this down. So, that is a K. That is an N. That is a D. Alright, so that's the one. Alright, that's the funky letter. Because I've studied Japanese, I'm aware of this letter. It's not an R, it's not an L, it's more like a D. D. Because in Japanese, they've got letters like ri, re, do, da. And it sounds more like a D to me than it does an R or an L. It's an M. That is a B. That is an S. That is a J. And this is an H. And, alright, so those are the consonants. Obviously, I'm going to be spending time memorizing these. I'm not going to keep reading all these verbally out loud because I'm just not doing that. Okay. I want to say one incredibly important thing before you continue. Sounds like a foot stop moment. People constantly ask me about the pronunciation of Korean letters and how they can best represent using English characters or Latin characters. There's no perfect way to represent Korean letters using English letters or sounds. English letters represented above are the letters that you'll commonly find being used to represent their respective Korean letters. While it is helpful at first to memorize the general sound of a Korean letter by using the English letter, you have to remember that Korean sounds are vastly different than English sounds. Not only are Korean sounds different from English sounds, but English sounds different depending on who is speaking, because of accents. I'm fully aware that my accent doesn't really sound like it belongs anywhere. So, yeah. Therefore, there is no perfect way to represent the Korean sounds in English. Okay. Alright, so here are the basic vowels. Alright, so that's an I. That's an A. That's an It's romanized as EO, but it's pronounced more like Alright. That's an EU. I'm gonna have to hear that one. So that one's a U. And that one's an O. You should know the first three vowels are drawn vertically. The bottom three are drawn horizontally. You can't see. Oh, I see what they mean. I'm not gonna verbalize that. I can put two and two together. In that picture, it should be clear that the ones on left and blah. Korean is written into blocks that make up one syllable. One block has exactly one syllable. Blocks are always drawn in the following ways. Okay, that explains a lot. I'm writing down the word syllables because it just gave a structure. That being that right there. I don't know if you can read it or not. Okay, important rules you need to know about these structures. The number 2 is always a vowel. One and 3 and sometimes 4 are always consonants. Always. And I don't see a 4 in there anywhere. I'm just going to abbreviate the word consonants because I'm not writing that every time. Blocks containing horizontally drawn vowels are drawn in one of two ways. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Blocks containing vertically drawn vowels are always drawn in one of two ways. Writing down horizontal vowels, and then this actually makes sense. Alright, now that you know the rules, it's just a matter of putting the consonants and vowels together to make blocks. For example, if I want to write bab. So A is a vertical letter. So I'm looking at this. Okay, so it would only require that third one. Because that follows the vertical structure. And not all words are like 30 letters long. Okay. practice before we finish. K-A-N. So be writing this. I'm not going to look up so that I'm not tempted. Okay. Baub. So all those letters connect, it looks like. But not the bottom ones. Okay. I notice that the letter seems to like widen horizontally if it's on the bottom, so that it actually, or so that when you stack these letters, it actually does form like one cohesive block. Like nothing's like getting pushed off to the side. It actually does make a viable block. Okay, so that does work like that. So, okay, so the letters themselves do connect when writing these out a certain way. So I'm going to play these. Okay, I don't know if you could hear that, but I just played an audio version of those letters, and I heard them. Okay, so there's this grid system here showing how these letters like go together. It's kind of like the hiragana structure, but it's just one chart, and there are no holes in it like there are in hiragana or katakana. And yes, I'm fully aware that I'm pronouncing those wrong. It shows them how they're made. It also shows what they look like when they're made right. Okay, so that's all of those. So I'm going to click on practicing sentence. So I'm watching the video. So it's kind of hard to do this without having the video right here and the audio playing for you to hear it. Basically, he's explaining that this is the letters that he taught me in that page I was just describing. Apparently, there's like 5 words I can write, so he's teaching me those words. Probably more. In fact, I almost guarantee that, but he's showing you those. Alright, so Han Gul. So it's a vertical letter and 3 letters. Which one was the end? That one. Alright. Then Ghoul. I think the K made the same. Yeah, the K made the same as the G. Then I just wrote the U. So let's see how bad I am at this. I just wrote this right here. Okay, let's. Okay, so. So I got that part right. So like this. So what I wrote was Hingul, not Hangul. I don't know if I'm saying something wrong. So this letter is just wrong. Why did you put a different letter there? Okay, just crossing that out and just gonna rewrite that second block. So that second block looks like this, and I was close, but not quite. And apparently that is the word for Korea. Okay. Namja. Okay, so for it's Namja, Nam-Ja. So I'm writing this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That literally means man. So it looks a little different when I wrote the letter for J, but it's very similar. Saram. That's the second one. Saram. Okay, so this is what I got. Now let's see if right. Sarang. Okay, so I wrote it down. Let's see how badly I did. Okay. Hey! That's Chilliwack. Namu. The way he dragged out that first syllable. Namu. Okay, so this is what I got. I went ahead and just drew the equal sign. See how far off I am, how bad this is. Yay! Yay! Namu. Tree. Do, si. She. So it is do, she. Okay. So. Okay. So. This is what I got. Let's see how I did. Yay! City. Get it off for me. Okay, so I just did a lesson, and I am going to leave you here for tonight. So there's a round 2, there's dictation, lesson 1, round 1, 2, and 3, and then there's a reading practice, which is just level 1. I have to go to bed, so I'm just gonna call it a night on this one. Seriously, this is like a 44-minute long video at this point. So I'm gonna stop here right now, upload this while I start doing my evening routine, and I think I've clarified everything I need to, so see you in the next video.